Commissioning for value is not a fixed thing. Commissioning is defined as achieving the best possible outcomes within the resources available. But there are many different ways of conceptualizing and understanding what value means. So for example, is value absolute or relative? So are you talking about an absolute cost position above which or below which the person decides it's not good value to purchase? Or is it in comparison with something else? Or is value talked about in terms of what is optimal that can be achieved within those resources? Now, what would optimal look like? Does anyone know what is the maximum level of outcomes that can conceivably be achieved in any type of situation? And what about value in terms of improvement in outcome? What does improvement look like? What are the comparators? What are the benchmarks that you decide whether something has improved sufficiently for this to be good value? Next, what about outcomes for whom? So when we're talking about value, whose value does this represent? Is it the value to perhaps not just the commissioner who makes the direct purchasing decision, but also what would value look like to, say, clinicians? Would it be about freeing their time to do something else? And what would value look like from the perspective of a patient or their family member or carers? So values for whom is obviously a key consideration here. Now, value decisions are always made on the basis of outcomes and benefit. But when it comes to commissioning practice, is it always possible, feasible, or desirable to commission by outcomes? We know that in the National Health Service in the UK, there is a real desire for us to move more towards outcomes-based commissioning. But at the same time, we recognize in this country and elsewhere that purchasing always on the basis of outcomes is not always feasible or even desirable. Next, who defines value? So there are people in the direct purchasing position, but what other voices might be represented? Have other stakeholder groups been engaged in the process of determining how do you look at the issue of value? And last but not least, value can be defined very differently even in the economic and health economics literature. So for example, is it about a financial value, financial saving for the commissioner? Is it about the wider economic value or the wider social well-being perspective to society and what it means for the exchequer? Could it mean value in terms of reducing pressure on other statutory services? Or what about value from the viewpoint of well-being in general for the individual, for the community, and for wider society? So as you can see, there are very, very different understandings and perceptions about what value means, and SMEs really need to understand that there isn't a single value proposition that would work well across all circumstances.